Chris, this may be the biggest heel turn I've ever seen. Far more of a swerve than Sergeant Slaughter becoming an Iraqi sympathizer, leading up to the first Iraq War and WrestleMania 7.
Wait, did that really happen?
It happened.
That's fucking great. I love that.
Oh, it's funny now.
The Rees Company.
By the way, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm.
All right. People who really want to have a good time won't come to a slaughterhouse. And we've got entirely too many troublemakers here. Too many 40-year-old adolescents, felons, power drinkers, and trustees of modern chemistry. It's going to change. Be nice.
That ain't working.
I want you to be nice.
That ain't working.
And you'll both be nice.
So much as my wife was a giant, but
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
no, I'm pretty sure that's the way you do it.
The Rees Company.
Crack open a tepid Genesee and watch the pictures as they travel through your neighbor's Wi-Fi. It's the Rees Company. I'm Steve Rees, the bull of American broadcasting, alongside the great Chris Morganti. How are you, Chris?
I'm good.
I see we have a friend here, a newcomer to the program.
I don't even remember how I came into possession of this thing, but it's the week before the Super Bowl, and here in Philadelphia, of course, we're all excited about the Eagles and their impending win. So I brought this.
And you're showing your Eagles pride.
Yes.
With this stuffed animal.
Yeah. Is that?
All right. Well, we have a lot going on this week, so you want to get straight to it, Chris?
Are you okay with this being here?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right.
I'm fine. Maybe I'll bring some of my toys next week.
Well,
and we can have a little play date.
You know, a few months ago during the World Series, we had a Bryce Harper bobblehead here. So I thought we were just keeping the whole thing going. But
okay, fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough. So
there's plenty of Legos in the studio if you need to.
That's it from what I understand.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight, very excited. Our movie of the week comes from a viewer suggestion.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that in just a bit. But first, we have something you bring to the show once in a while. Anytime one of these stories occur, you bring it in and we discuss it and parse it for certain elements. Do you want to tell the folks what this is?
This is a new episode of Funny or Hate Crime, where we look at a news story and we decide whether it's one of four things, either funny, a hate crime, both, or neither. So let's take a look.
Okay, now this story, I believe, comes from Nyack, New York.
Okay. And, the company Aramark, they
caterers.
Like caterers, food vendors, yeah. Apparently they do school lunches as well. And they served, on the first day of Black History Month, they served chicken, fried chicken, and watermelon to what I would have to assume is a predominantly African-American school district. And it caused a stir, Steve.
People were not best pleased?
Well, I don't see. That's the thing, is it gets reported in the media as people are angry.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure the people eating that food were fine.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they were quite happy to be. Who doesn't like fried chicken and watermelon?
Right.
The chicken is the most eaten animal in the world, I would think. Like, yeah. What's your take on this whole thing?
According to Ralph Williams, even vegans eat chicken.
Even
so
vegans,
everybody enjoys.
I mean, they're not going to have a steak.
Fried chicken. Right. No,
Right.
but they might have turkey burgers or chicken.
Sure.
My take on it is this was the first day, I believe, of Black History Month, and that's why this was taken as an insult.
Yeah. Now, do you think there was any malicious intent on the part of Aramark? Do you think there was somebody in Aramark who was like, hey, they thought maybe they could get away with something here? I don't know.
But what are they getting away with exactly? Paying tribute to a culture? Yeah. Because I think the problem people have with this is that African Americans have a reputation, perhaps unfair, but a reputation nonetheless of enjoying fried chicken and watermelon. Now, if, let's say, on St. Patrick's Day, they serve ham and cabbage,
Right.
is that considered an act of hatred against the Irish?
Yeah.
It's more of a tribute,
Yeah.
a theme.
And the news article that I read where I heard about this described it as a negative stereotype.
I don't think that's negative
How
at
is
all.
it negative to enjoy the foods that you enjoy?
Right. You're just not allowed to generalize about certain groups, which I think is unfair to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anyone eating that food was upset by this.
Exactly. So I'm going with, did you something
go
to add
ahead,
before
go
we
ahead.
decide whether it's a hate crime, funny, neither, or both?
Go ahead.
I say neither, and people really need to grow up.
Well, fair enough. But I'm going to say it's not a hate crime because it's not a crime to serve people food that they enjoy.
Yes, as long as it's not tainted on purpose.
Right. But it did make me laugh, which is why I brought it to the show. So I am going to say that it is funny.
So you're going with funny, and that's fair enough, because as you said, it made you laugh, and you can't argue with that.
Right.
All right. So shall we move on to our movie of the week of the week?
All right.
Yeah, as we mentioned at the top of the show, this comes from a viewer suggestion.
And who is that viewer?
That's Mike in Illinois, who is a kind supporter of whatever you call what it is we do here. He asked us to review Yesterday's Child, which aired on February 3rd, 1977 on the Columbia Broadcasting System. It's based on the 1967 novel Night of Clear Choice by Doris Miles Disney. It stars Shirley Jones, who's best known as the fictional matriarch of the Partridge Family.
Yeah.
Claude Akins, who you may know as Sheriff Lobo, the Amco commercials, or our coverage of the made-for-TV film The Death Squad.
Who is this?
Claude Akins.
He was the dad?
He was the dad in this movie, yeah.
Yeah,
that
okay.
we're about to
All right.
discuss.
All right.
Yeah. And also introducing Stephanie Zimbalist, who would go on to co-star with Pierce Brosnan in TV's Remington Steele. Now, on the night
and
this
also John Wayne's son.
yes, he also makes an appearance,
Yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah.
And I believe you're going to have a lot to say about him.
Not a lot. But, yeah.
Now, on the night this movie aired, folks viewed it on state-of-the-art audio-visual equipment. Now, it wasn't stellar, but it was adequate for its time. Yet, for some reason, in the 21st century, the only available version is a YouTube upload with the picture quality of a kinescope from a Soviet broadcast that aired during a typhoon.
Mhm.
So please, bear with us on the quality. We'll talk you through it.
It's the audio quality that really got to me. And also, I guess we'll get into it later, but apparently we're missing about 10 minutes of this movie.
That's
So
a possibility. yeah.
it seems really unfair, whatever rating we give it. We haven't seen the whole movie. We're just kind of guessing at whatever. But
Yeah, so let's just dive right into this. As the film begins, Shirley, she's running through the park looking for her 3-year-old daughter.
Ann, where are you? Ann, come to mommy. Have you seen a little girl?
Haven't seen anyone. You lost your little girl.
No, she's not lost. We were playing hide and seek, and I just...
And she won. Soon after, we see Shirley's husband, and he's barely seen in this movie, although everything is barely seen in this recording of it.
You know, Steve, I just want to point out in that prior scene, they got a creepy guy, that guy that you see in there
the
in the
dog
park.
walker.
They got a creepy guy to kind of set a creepy mood, but you'll never see that guy again. He was nobody.
He's off the clock from
he
here
was just
on.
a pedestrian walking by.
Now, if you look closely, you can see bumps on this guy's face, Shirley's husband,
Okay.
as though he's a burn victim. And he's in a wheelchair to boot, which probably means he's also a victim of poor service at practically every Pittsburgh dining establishment.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
I should have delivered the money myself.
Please, no.
God's sake, Noel. What difference would that make?
I am her father.
I put the money exactly where he told me, Noel. $100,000.
Why isn't she here?
She'll be here. She'll be here. She's not old enough to provide any description of him. She represents no threat to him. Why should he harm? He told me that he'd bring her here tonight. He sounded sincere, and I believed him. I believed him. I still do.
It's my fault.
Laura. No one's blaming you.
Send for the police.
No, please. Let's wait a little longer.
It's no use, Laura. My granddaughter's not coming back.
Yeah. So the girl was apparently kidnapped and held for ransom. And it seems her captor was one of those unscrupulous kidnappers who didn't live up to his end of the deal. So, although they didn't call the police, I hope they at least called the Better Business Bureau.
Okay.
14 years pass, and a woman lay dying in a California hospital. Claude Akins, he's her husband, he's at her side, and she calls for her daughter, who is played by Stephanie Zimbalist.
Cliff.
Yeah.
You do it. About the locket.
I will, baby. I will.
And yes. No matter what happens, you'll always be my little girl.
Yeah. Now, as we just kind of heard, Claude promises to tell Stephanie about some locket.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have to, because rifling through her mother's things, Stephanie finds it herself.
Give me that.
There's pictures inside. A man and a woman.
You recognize them? How about the locket?
I never saw it before.
You don't remember wearing it as a kid?
No. What did Mother tell you about it?
I told you it was nothing for you to worry about. Now, don't poke around in your mother's things.
Yeah, well, this locket causes quite a stir, huh, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
The Talbot family, see, they're Shirley's clan with the girl who was kidnapped, and she would now be 17 years old. They hear about the girl who has this locket somehow through the police department. I'm not clear on that. So the Talbots pay Claude a visit, and he tells them what he knows.
Now, Steve, you have 8 pages of notes on this movie,
Right.
Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah.
It's only a 68-minute movie.
Right.
So I've done some math in my head, and that's a page for every 8.2 minutes. So that's all right.
There's a lot going on that I think needs to be examined in order to fully grasp everything that takes place here.
And yet, there's parts that we haven't seen. It's mind-boggling. Okay.
All right, let's hear Claude's explanation.
Well, he told me her kid had died. When she was a baby.
Could it have been 14 years ago, Mr. Hammond?
Say 1963.
Yeah, it could have been. Well, he told me that she was just out of her mind. That kid was the only thing she had, so she got in the car and she just started driving from place to place. She was driving on a back road near Santa Barbara when she saw this little girl crying. She couldn't get anything out of her except that her name was Ann and somebody had just left her there. Oh, and she was wearing this.
It's Anne's.
Yeah. Now, it's hard to imagine now, Chris, but before DNA testing or any kind of credible forensic science, locket possession was ironclad proof of one's parentage.
Yeah. You know what else shows a difference in the times is that guy was wearing a suit. And I'm pretty sure, isn't he a car mechanic?
He is indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and he's wearing a suit. That's not
maybe he was going to a baseball game later. Yeah, but lockets were key evidence in court cases, and they served the dual purposes of fashion accessories / legal documents. So if you had difficulty following that scene, considering the source material, Claude claims his late wife found a little girl hysterical at a roadside, took her in, raised her as her own. And the story he tells here leads the Talbots to consider that Anne had been set free by her captor, picked up by Claude's wife, and lived under a different identity for the intervening 14 years. That's, of course, all circumstantial until you factor in the locket. So Stephanie is at first reluctant to meet her long-lost family. Here, she makes her entrance before them.
You must be overwhelmed by all of this. At least we've had some time to get adjusted to the possibility.
I love my mother. And no matter what she said when she was dying, or what that locket means, I don't believe I'm your daughter.
Yeah, now as you mentioned, Chris, Claude, he's an auto mechanic.
Right.
Shirley is very much not. She's a pharmaceutical heiress. So her charred, wheelchair-bound husband has since died.
Yeah.
And if Stephanie becomes accepted as a Talbot, she stands to gain a cut of the family fortune. And this is not far from the mind of Shirley's brother-in-law, John. He has a son of his own who may someday have to share any inheritance with the newcomer.
Yeah.
The newcomer, Stephanie, she goes to stay with the Talbots. But she's not the only guest of theirs. Sanford Grant, the tennis instructor, and Shirley's love interest, he's also in the mix. You want to say something about him, Chris?
Well, I think we should see the scene.
Okay.
Before we,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did you sleep well?
Yes, fine.
Good.
Hi.
Oh, Anne, this is Sanford Grant, Anne Henry.
Yeah.
Hello.
Rita, give Anne some breakfast.
Thank you, Rita.
Sandy and I are going to play a set or two. Would you like to join us?
Oh, I think I'd better get settled first.
What, do you play tennis?
I played in high school.
Well, then I'd like to offer my services.
As what?
Instructor.
You're all booked up.
Excuse me.
Hey. Don't let him get to you.
Feel as if I were under a microscope.
Well, you are. But not with me.
Thanks.
Just take it easy, huh? Remember, the offer still stands. For tennis or whatever. Just say the word.
Now, I guess it's growing up as John Wayne's son that gives you the confidence to proposition a woman in front of her entire family for sexual activity. I mean, this guy walks in and says, hey, I can offer you a tennis lesson or an hour of cunnilingus. It's up to you. You want to work on your backhand or you want to have a mind-bending orgasm? They end up in a romantic relationship, which we'll see in the next part here.
Sandy, you and Laura.
Tennis partners.
Is that all?
That's all.
In that case.
Doesn't it look like...
Yeah, that phantom hand that closes the door?
Yeah, I think it was... I had to watch it like 4 or 5 times. Well, actually, when they introduced the character, I had to watch it 4 or 5 times because I thought they were calling him Handsome Grant instead of Sanford Grant. But that's just the sound card. But I think what they were doing in that scene was it was shot... the mirror was behind the door, and what you were seeing was a reflection, and that's why the hand came from the opposite side, And yeah, it made it look like there was some dude in there. Like, all right, it's, like he was watching. He said, "All right, let's shut the door and watch." Yeah, it was very weird.
Well, your explanation makes perfect sense.
That's the only. I watched it 5 times, and that's the only explanation I can come up with.
Yeah, I couldn't make any sense of it. So you've seen him earlier, but there's a police lieutenant somehow involved with the family. I guess he's conducting an ongoing investigation into the kidnapping from 14 years prior.
Yeah, we're unclear if he's a member of the local police who they are hiring on the side, or something else. I don't.
Well, you have a lieutenant. The Morganis have a lieutenant, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, he provides occasional updates, and at this point, he's investigating, I guess, Stephanie's identity.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out whether or not she really is the heiress to this fortune.
Right. And the timing of everything that Claude laid out when they came to meet him, it appears to be valid. A woman returning to her hometown after a long absence with a 3-year-old girl around the time of the kidnapping, it kind of adds up, and time-wise matches up perfectly. Again, all circumstantial, but that seems to be enough to convince the matriarch, old woman Talbot. But Shirley's brother-in-law, Joe, again, he doesn't want another finger in the family pie, so he's against the idea of Stephanie being Anne.
Wait, brother-in-law?
Yes.
It's not her brother?
No, it's not her brother. She's the widow of his brother.
So her sister is also dead in addition to her father?
I don't know anything about a sister.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, see, maybe I missed something.
Wouldn't it have been less confusing to just have it be her brother? If you were writing this, Steve, wouldn't you? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's so much going on here. This is why I have 8 pages of notes, and this is what I could figure out.
This is why a lot of Agatha Christie novels, they have a character list at the very beginning of the novel,
just
so you can keep track of who's related to who.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, or though she could have made it clear to everybody if she'd been a better writer.
Well, she wanted to be
part of her job is to get the story across and the characters.
But she wanted to be a singer, Steve. That's why.
That's what we learned from previous. That's what we learned from Reba McEntire.
Yeah,
and I take her word on anything involving literature for sure. All right, so where were we? Yeah, Joe. He's the brother-in-law. He tries to sway Shirley's acceptance of Stephanie as a Talbot and sabotage Stephanie's comfort in her new surroundings. Let's see this. Back to back, he does
If you
this.
accept that girl as your daughter, it cuts you out of the Talbot trust, don't you?
You think I care about the will if she really is my daughter?
Oh, I'm sure. Look at them. They look pretty good together, don't they? 2 young people enjoying themselves. Well, you have nothing to worry about, Laura, I'm sure. You look pretty good for your age. He may even find you attractive without your money.
Ooh.
Tomorrow? I can if you can.
Actually, I have high hopes for you.
As what?
We'll talk about that.
Again, the sexual innuendo, Steve.
Yes, thank you.
Good. I want you to enjoy your visit. So long as it's just that, a visit. You're not here permanently, Miss Henley.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, a young girl might be impressed by all this. Big house, tennis court, swimming pool, all the things my brother's money can buy.
Oh, I'm not here because of the money.
Good, then you won't be disappointed when you don't get any of it.
Yeah. Now that's Joe. He's the brother-in-law of Shirley.
Okay.
Now he has a son called Seth, and Seth's portion of the Talbot riches would be affected if Stephanie were to officially be recognized as an heiress.
Yeah, and that scene is notable for one other reason, Steve, which is that they set up this whole romance of what's the lead character's name? The girl.
The girl is Anne.
Anne, yes, Anne and Sanford Grant. They set up this whole romance thing. That'll be the last scene you ever see him in again.
Yeah,
it's just completely abandoned. Again, we lost 10 minutes of this movie apparently, but that plot line dies at that scene.
Yeah, but I believe this film was made by Rosemary Woods Productions, so that kind of makes sense. So since Stephanie arrived at the estate, strange occurrences have abounded. A blue teddy bear, said to be a favorite of hers when she lived there as a toddler, That bear was hanged by her bedpost as though executed.
Uh-huh.
And also messages defaming her character have been appearing in lipstick on her bedroom mirror. She believes Seth, her quote-unquote cousin, perhaps cousin, who even knows, she believes Seth is behind these incidents. So one night, she chases him down and confronts him.
You made him upset when you were talking about hanging the teddy bear.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. It's in a work of fiction. It's in a work of fiction. We're just portraying menacing behavior. Okay. Let's take a look at Anne or Stephanie
we're cousins.
confronting Seth.
I'm warning you, Seth. I don't want to cause any trouble. But I'm going to tell someone if you keep it up.
Go ahead. The old lady'd love an excuse to tear into me, especially now that you're back.
I don't believe that.
Let me tell you something. When I was 6, I was brought over to see her. My mother was alive then. I heard my grandmother and Uncle Noel talking about you. It was when they'd found that kid's skeleton. At first, they thought it was yours. And Grandma said, if one of them had to be kidnapped, why couldn't it have been Seth?
Yeah, so that's a key piece right there.
Yeah, and can I point out, I don't know what that actor was going for, but thumbs down, whatever it was.
Really? You don't think it was autism?
That was... is that what he was going for?
That's what I think that character represents. Yeah,
okay.
He's somehow on the spectrum. They wouldn't have said it at the time.
Yeah, okay.
But he's not, I wouldn't say slow, but perhaps gifted and unsocial.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So there's a key piece right there. There was a skeleton discovered at one point, thought to be the remains of the kidnapped Talbot girl. That seemed to satisfy most, that she was no longer alive, but probably not everyone. It's been a while since we've seen Claude Akins, but he's still knocking about the periphery. After all, the girl in question is a girl he helped raise. For all intents and purposes, he is her father. So here...
Oh, that's a new one.
Yeah. You know that scene in the Blues Brothers when they're in the apartment by the L? So here Claude Akins meets with the elder Talbot.
I just don't know what to say about this, Miss Talbot. $50,000?
We never rescinded the reward, Mr. Hadley.
Yeah, but seeing as how it was Marie who kept the kid.
But you're not responsible for something your wife did before you met her.
Still.
You made a great sacrifice in giving up, Anne.
Well, just so you don't think that this is what I did it for.
Of course not. I would never think that, Mr. Henley. Why, how in the world would you have ever known that there was a reward?
Miss Talbot, I'm thinking about moving a little closer.
I just want to point out, again, he's still wearing a suit.
Well, he's in dignified surroundings now. He wants to look the part. He wants to rise.
I think that's what it is. Is he figures if he needs to go to the Talbot home, he needs to dress up for the occasion.
Yes, even though the first time we saw him meeting with them, it was at his residence.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I guess he wanted to present himself as worthy of their respect, worthy as a peer.
Do you think we've lost something as a society, Steve?
I think we have. People fail. People don't attempt to rise. They want to bring everybody down.
People go out to dinner in their pajamas now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So Claude does move closer. He moves into a modest home, not nearby to the Talbots, but in the area. So Stephanie visits him regularly, and she seems to have found a comfortable balance between her old life and her new one. Part of her new life involves...
I would call it an uncomfortable balance based on all the scenes that we see, but some sort of balance. Yeah.
Well, the way I see it is we see her visiting her father, and she's home with the Talbots, and it seems that she's able to do both without being uncomfortable at either.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the comfortability comes from...
discomfort?
She lost... Yeah, there you go. She lost her mom, and I guess that's a lot of the scenes where she's with her dad is she just lost... Well, maybe not her mom, but who she believed was her mom.
Right.
Yeah.
The woman who raised her.
Yeah, the woman who raised her.
Yeah. Now, part of her new life involves entering college. And for this purpose, she undergoes a physical exam. The doctor makes a discovery, and as Sartre might say, all other people is about to break loose.
What?
Spina bifida. One of those atypical cases where it can't be seen. Congenital, weak spot in the spine. Sometimes they break out. But it hasn't with Anne.
Did you know she had it? Oh, yes. I'd forgotten all about it. Her pediatrician said it was such a small thing. I never thought to mention it.
Yeah, it's that kind of hole in your spine that doesn't really affect your life at all, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a shocking revelation. And I've always felt that spina bifida was like, whoever came up with that name, like, were they just, I don't know, your spine is messed up. Let's call it spine biffed up. Something like that. I don't know.
They didn't really put much thought into it.
Kind of like Asperger's. I don't know. You got, probably got Asperger's. I don't know.
But I understand.
Also, I just want to point out, Michael O'Donnell just pieced out without, Michael O'Donnell was in studio.
Yeah. And, we had a studio audience of one, like they used to have on the old Alan Havey show, which was quite nice.
But he just pieced out with that, a wave. Yeah. All right, we'll see you next time, Mike.
Would have been nice. Would have been nice. Well, good night to Mike. Yeah, spina bifida, but the doctor is right to be kind of dismissive of it because it is that sort of thing. Chris, I get it every year, during spina bifida season.
Oh, boy.
And even when I get the shot, I still, but then after a week and a half, I'm match fit.
Sure.
So, unlike a lot of mystery or suspense thrillers we watch, this film really only has one twist. But then things just don't stop.
Wait, is that a pun?
No.
The twist like a spine?
No.
I don't know if that's what you're going for.
Okay, let's see where the twist begins. And this twist continues basically for the rest of the film.
Sure.
Good for everybody.
I want to know who she is. Who is she?
Your loving daughter.
Spina bifida.
What?
A weakness in the spine, congenital. That means she was born with it.
So?
My daughter didn't have any birth defects.
She does now.
That girl's Anne Henley.
Yeah. She's Marie's kid. Before she died, I told Marie that locket would take care of Anne for the rest of her life. So, Anne Talbot and Henley, they're both the same.
Like hell they are.
You got no choice.
Right.
Yeah. And why has she got no choice, Chris?
Because of the locket?
Well, yeah, there's a locket involved, but
right.
It turns out Shirley knows more about her daughter's disappearance than she's let on for more than a decade.
Yes.
Let's see where this continues.
My daughter's dead. Isn't she?
You ought to know, lady. You killed her.
You're lying! You're lying!
You made your choice that night. Your husband's money or your child's life.
It's a lie!
It's not a lie. What about the pills you gave me? One was enough. She said give her two. Just make sure that she's asleep when you collect the money. How many pills did you give her in the park? You killed your daughter and you used me to do it. Your own daughter.
I hated her. Hated her. Hated the way she felt. I tried to get it out of me, and he wouldn't let me. I never wanted that child. He forced me.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
Any way you slice it, that's
the
messed
whole
up.
situation here.
Yeah.
So, in case you didn't follow, Shirley and Claude were once lovers, and she roped him into a kidnapping/murder plot to make her daughter disappear.
But he didn't know it was, he thought it was just a kidnapping plot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He gave her pills that she insisted he give.
He's implying that she gave the daughter pills prior to him giving her pills, and that caused the overdose.
Okay, see, that I wasn't even clear on.
Yeah. See, he said one was enough, but you told me to give her two, and then you probably gave her some before that. So, yeah, that's messed up that somebody, well, whatever. Yeah.
Well, this is all backfiring on Shirley now, as Claude is presented his late wife's daughter as Shirley's long missing one.
Right.
And it appears as though there's nothing she can do about it. She can either accept Stephanie as her own, and the loss of inheritance that would go along with it, or confess to conspiracy to murder.
Or a third path you could take is to whatever we're going to see, which I don't. We decided what we think happened. At the end of this
think.
movie?
Well, I'm going to explain what I think happens
All
at
right,
the end,
all right.
and then you can decide whether you agree, disagree, or have another theory.
Yeah.
So let's see. As Shirley continues airing her grievances about her late husband and late daughter.
Night of the fire, he went straight to her. Never a thought of me. No. And I was stuck with a hopeless cripple and a whiny brat.
How much money did your husband leave Anne? The old lady's worth millions. You don't make waves, Laura. We can all have a good life.
No way. I waited 14 long years, and it's mine. It's all mine. You better get her out of my life. Or I'll remember that my baby didn't have any birth defects.
It's your word against mine. Who are they going to believe? Me. Because how would I know way out in Carpinteria that kid even existed? Unless somebody told me. They'll remember that. And they'll remember that you were with her the day she was snatched. She's your daughter.
Can we pause it? Now, we'll notice Steve, in this scene, he's dressed down because he's at home, but he's still wearing, I guess, a sport coat or a smoking jacket or something of that effect.
Is that not a cardigan?
Is that what it is? It's. I mean, who knows? Yeah. All right.
You're stuck with us.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that exchange.
Yeah.
Most notably, we learn that her husband was indeed handicapped and disfigured as a result of a fire.
Right. He attempted to, he saved the daughter and didn't so much attempt to save the mother character who's in this scene here. And she resented that. So.
Right. I wonder if Shirley will accept that she's lost or settle for Claude's proposal that they all hang in there and divide Stephanie's eventual inheritance.
Yeah.
Let's find out together, shall we?
Still?
Oh, boy. Yeah, so Claude's dead.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if the 10 minutes we're missing from this movie had a better explanation as to what we just saw happen. But does it make sense that, I mean, she's a tiny woman. We've all seen the Partridge Family. She probably weighs 90 pounds. Is she going to be able to restrain a professional auto mechanic of his build in order to be able to trap him inside a fake arson, or not fake arson, but fake home fire? I don't know.
One of two things. She waits until he's asleep, or she drugs him like she did her daughter.
Well, you would assume that she drugged him, but why not show that then? You know? Like, is that what we're missing out of this movie? I don't know. There should be some explanation, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing's for sure. Shirley really reveals her true character here. Going from grieving mother To a woman unsure whether to trust her emotions and accept a girl who may not be her daughter after all, to murderous arsonist. Chris, this may be the biggest heel turn I've ever seen. Far more of a swerve than Sergeant Slaughter becoming an Iraqi sympathizer, leading up to the first Iraq War and WrestleMania 7.
Wait, did that really happen?
It happened.
That's fucking great. I love that.
Oh, it's funny now. So, as a result of her father's death, Stephanie seeks comfort in her ersatz grandmother.
You just wanted to be a little closer. No, he's dead.
I wish you could remember your real father. Of course, you were only a baby, but you never seemed to mind the way he looked after the fire. Only you and I didn't mind.
How did it start?
They never found out. An ember from the fire, one of Laura's cigarettes. Well, that's enough sad talk for one night.
Yeah. So Stephanie, she gets suspicious of the official account of the fire at Claude's house.
Mm-hmm.
Police say he fell asleep with a cigarette, which caused the blaze. But he had told Stephanie that he recently quit smoking.
Yeah.
So her surrogate grandmother dismisses Stephanie's suspicion, saying that maybe Claude had started smoking again. Reasonable explanation.
Sure.
But she seems kind of insistent about it. No, trust me, he probably started smoking again. Nothing to see here. So Stephanie heads to her father's house to collect what belongings she can salvage. And Shirley meets her there.
I thought you might need some help.
No, but I'd love the company.
How are you feeling?
The same.
$1 million.
I stopped by Dr. Jordan's office and picked up some tranquilizers for you.
All right,
He said
can we
to
pause
take
it?
for a day or two?
Let me pause it here. Now, Steve, how many pages of notes do you have left?
This is our second to last.
We have 2 pages of notes left,
Yeah.
right? All right. Can I say, am I correct in saying this? This is officially where this movie goes freaking batshit crazy, right?
I would say when Shirley and Claude are having their little powwow, I would say that's where things start to go off the rails because we learned so much in so little time.
Right, but it made sense. That scene, what we already saw, made sense.
It revealed a plot in the past.
Yes.
And how Claude has manipulated that plot to benefit him and his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything from this moment forward, you and I were like, what happened?
It's out of control.
What are we watching? Why are these characters doing this? We have no idea. We still don't know.
I have some understanding.
You have a theory.
I have a theory, and
which I want to hear, but
okay,
we don't really know.
But my theory mainly involves the grandmother.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'll be able to answer every question you have, but I think I can at least answer some.
Well, I just want to be clear to our audience that if you don't follow it from this point forward, you're not alone.
Yeah, yeah. And if you have seen this movie and you have a better understanding than we've let on, please let us know in the comments, either on YouTube, on Facebook, or tweet us, and let us know what you think. Even if you have a theory based on the clips we've shown you. If you can give us a better perspective on this, we'd appreciate it, because we're not sure we fully understand it. I know Chris isn't sure.
Yeah. And we had who was the gentleman who recommended this movie to us?
Mike
from Illinois?
Yeah.
Illinois?
Yeah. Jeez. Well, you've come to the right place, Chris.
Well, maybe he knows, because why would he recommend this if he
Yeah, it's possible he's an expert on this film, and he just wanted to see us stumble through it. Had every other version of this, the HD version's all taken down on every platform. Just so we'd have to do a show based
Deal
on
with this, you jerks.
Oh, yes, exactly. He almost accidentally signed it Ralph Williams. Oh, no. I got to pick it. Mike S. All right. All right. All right, let's continue.
But we do want recommendations.
Yes, and Mike, we greatly appreciate your input on this.
And we had a thought last week after the show that, and I guess we have to get in touch with Mike. But if you recommend a movie to the show and we end up using it for the show, you'll get a Rees Company T-shirt.
Yes, once the T-shirts are available, you'll get a complimentary one.
Yeah. So send in those recommendations.
Okay, here's Shirley and Stephanie having a little chat at the remains of Claude's home.
I was angry with him for giving my mother's things away. Now I'm doing the same with his.
Where can I get some water?
Oh, I'll get it.
Where can I get some water? Okay, she doesn't want to let on that she's ever been to the house. But I think being able to deduce where to find water in any first world dwelling, it's not incriminating.
Yeah.
Hey, Steph, I forgot my dowsing rod. A little help over here? Yeah, we get it. You're not acquainted with Shea Claude. Okay, the real point here is she's giving her tranquilizers.
Right.
Now, meantime, old lady Talbot gets a call from the lieutenant, and he appears to have uncovered an association between Claude and Shirley from long ago. Now, this, the old woman also dismisses as coincidence. They had a mutual friend around the same time or something to that effect, but Mrs. Talbot's dismissal isn't genuine. Suspicious, she rings Claude's home, and Shirley answers. She hears Shirley's voice. Stephanie is passed out on the couch. Now, once she hears Shirley's voice, Mrs. Talbot hangs up without a word. So after a follow-up call to the Talbot estate, which is answered by a housekeeper, Shirley learns that her mother-in-law has left the house abruptly. Her destination, undisclosed. Afraid that Talbot is on her way to Claude's, Shirley douses the inside of Stephanie's car with gasoline and drags her unconscious body outside.
You can't douse something in gasoline and then an hour later light it on. I don't whatever. I'm sorry to interrupt.
You didn't interrupt.
It's so bizarre, this ending.
Yes, it does appear very rushed. But Shirley's plot soon changes, I guess, to burn Stephanie's body in the gasoline-lined vehicle. When she sees an approaching vehicle. Her own car won't start because she doesn't have the keys.
Why?
So she gets into the car she just doused with gasoline. The innards are, the interior is just slathered with fuel.
That evaporated hours ago, but sure.
Well, she just did this. She just put the gasoline in.
No, she poured the gasoline in before she drove the car to a remote location. What?
Yeah, we're on 2 pages as far as this goes. That looks like fun. Well, not now. Yeah, so now Shirley's dead.
Yeah. What was the grandmother trying to accomplish?
Well, I have a theory on this.
Okay.
But first, we're going to have to check out the aftermath of this whole malarkey.
I was coming to meet my daughter-in-law. Apparently, she misunderstood the message and she started for home. She lost control of the car.
What about her? Do you know her?
Yes. name is Anne. Anne Talbot. She's my granddaughter.
Yeah, so that's how things end.
Yeah.
And you're right, Chris. This movie does leave a lot to interpretation. How did the grandmother know what was going on over at Claude's? Maybe she knew all along that this was Shirley's M.O.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe she found a locket with a picture of Shirley committing arson.
Yeah, those lockets. They'll get you every time.
They will. Now, here's what I think. I think the old woman knows that this girl is not her granddaughter.
Okay.
But sees her as a replacement for the one she lost. I get the sense that she also more than likely suspected Shirley in her daughter's disappearance, but could never prove it. Stephanie's presence in the family effectively cut Shirley out of the estate, so there's a vengeful benefit to the grandmother for insisting that Stephanie is a legitimate heiress.
Okay.
As for her insisting that Stephanie's her granddaughter after Shirley's death, perhaps she also sees Stephanie as a replacement for the granddaughter she lost, as I mentioned. She's an orphan now, so she may as well be a Talbot. But Stephanie's claim to the family money also spites her grandson Seth, of whom we've established she's not a fan. So anything you want to say before we rate it?
Well, your explanation makes sense in a way, Steve, but you haven't explained, how does she know where her where is she driving to? How does she know where she is?
She's driving to Claude's.
Claude's?
Yes, the house that burned down.
How would she know that that's where they are?
Well, maybe she knew where her granddaughter was assumed that Shirley was going out there to finish the job.
That makes no sense. I'm sorry. That just doesn't make any sense. Why you hear that your daughter is cooking up a scheme, whether you knew about it beforehand or not. Your immediate thought wouldn't be, I got to go get back out of that burned down house because she's probably going to kill somebody. None of it makes any freaking sense. Here's another thing. Hey, good news on Yesterday's Child. We were able to cast John Wayne's son in the role of Sanford Grant. So we figure at the end of the film, he'll ride in and save the day. Oh, no? No, just have him cut in the middle of Act 2? Okay, yeah, got it. This movie, I can't.
I'm sorry, was that Herb Monganus?
Yeah. That was indeed producer Herb Monganus.
Just checking. Okay. But, continue, Chris. My apologies.
But I can't honestly rate this movie because if we're missing 10 minutes, then maybe all this makes sense, right?
Possibly.
And it was entertaining, and I feel like it could have been really good. So I would have to rate it in between 2 and 5 stars. And I can't determine which it is until I see a full cut of it.
Well, that would be what, 3.5?
Yeah. All right. If you want.
So you want to split it down the middle and say 3.5?
If you want to do it that way, sure.
Well, based on the theory that I believe to be true about what this film, how this film ends up, I'm giving it 2 out of 5. Let's just say everything I just said is exactly what the producers intended.
Okay.
I'm giving it 2 out of 5. Viewers who are accustomed seeing Shirley Jones on a bus with Danny Bonaducci, they probably enjoyed this departure, but forgot about it halfway through the late local news. And for me, I think seeing this movie twice filled in blanks in the plot that are easily missed. And seeing it once, as it aired, as audiences were intended to in 1977, it would have made it difficult and perhaps even impossible to pick up on these plot subtleties. So I'm not sure it does its job as a made-for-TV movie of the era, hence the low rating.
Okay.
I think there's a good movie to be made of this story. This one is just not it.
Hey, here's another thing, Steve. This YouTube video was 68 minutes. That's an unusual length.
Yeah, for a TV movie, it would be about 1 hour 35.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that would be about the length if you had a 90-minute TV show accounting for commercials.
Right, yeah.
So my thinking was this was originally scheduled to be a 2-hour movie, and for whatever reason, they needed to cut it down to 90 minutes, and that's why you have this butchery that we saw, I can only assume. But that's the best explanation of this film that I have to offer.
Well, that's a fair one. Anything else you'd like to say before we move on? because we have an announcement to make.
We do. Yeah. No, I think 8 pages is. You went above and beyond this week, Steve. So thank you for doing that.
Well, we do what we can here. It's a big week for football fans in the area where we record this podcast. I don't think where the microphones are located is necessary to the content of the show.
It's not, but where we live impacts our lives, and we bring our lives to the show.
Sure.
So, yeah.
No, fair. I do understand that aspect of it.
So, yeah, go on.
Well, next week is the Super Bowl.
Right.
And a team of which you're a huge fan, the Philadelphia Eagles, are participants in the competition.
Now, you're a big Phillies fan.
I enjoy the Phillies, yeah.
Yeah. But you're not so you like Canadian football solely.
I appreciate Canadian football much more so.
You're a Hamilton
Ticats.
Tide Cats.
Ticats, yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger Cats.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so with the Super Bowl coming up next week, we have a kind of the Super Bowl is a competition in itself.
Mm-hmm.
We have a competition between one another.
We've decided to make a friendly wager between the two of us. And we haven't actually worked out how we're going to do this, but I believe we have worked out the what we're going to be wagering.
Yeah.
Right?
What's at stake?
Now, you see cities do this. And when Philadelphia's involved, it's always they're sending cheesesteaks somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I don't know what's going to come back from Kansas City. I would assume a T-bone steak. I don't know.
Barbecue.
Okay, barbecue. Yeah. But in our case, that's not going to work for us. So we've agreed that one of us will reenact the scene from a movie, a former movie of the week, The Loneliest Runner, where the father admits to being a bedwetter.
Yes.
Yeah. So the loser of our wager will reenact that scene at our, I assume, our next show.
And whoever loses cannot have fun with it. You have to sell it.
Okay. You're adding conditions, but okay.
Well, I'm just saying you can't do it ironically or, oh, yeah, I'm totally going to read these lines and, yeah, look at me. I'm just going through with this. No, you have to actually give a performance akin to that given by Brian Keith in The Loneliest Runner.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
Yep.
All right. So the only thing left is, here's the thing. 2 weeks. Yeah, you're right. It'll air. So the next show will air after the Super Bowl, but we'll record it before the Super Bowl.
Okay,
so
yeah.
it will be. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, thanks, Jim. What was I?
Well, you were about to announce what we have to do to determine the winner versus the loser.
Well, here's the thing. You're not an Eagles fan. I am a lifelong Eagles fan, and I also think they're the better team. So it's going to be very hard for me to take a side other than the Eagles winning this, right? But I'm not going to ask you to pick the Chiefs if you don't think they're going to win. So if you also want to pick the Eagles, then we have to work something out with the spread, or over. We'll do an over/under, like some other wager.
Who gets closest to the score?
The total score, the combined score.
The combined score, yeah.
Okay.
You want to do it that way?
Yeah. So you are also picking the Eagles.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I think most rational people would.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I probably should have thought this through and came up with a number, but I have. Can we look, Jim? Can you look up the line, the over/under line on the Super Bowl, please?
I have mine prepared. We're going to not Google. Surprisingly, it's DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, he's a big fan of that. I don't know.
I guess. Well, you brought. Okay. Okay, Eagles minus
we need the over/under. That's what we're betting on here. 50.5 points.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So how did you figure it out? Do you have a number in mind?
My number isn't the over/under, but you can figure it out from here. Right. I'm going 31-14 Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. 31-14, which is 45.
So I'm taking the under. Do you want to do over/under, or do you just how do you want to do this?
Whoever's closer to the combined score. It doesn't. The over/under doesn't matter. I was just curious, but
right.
You're at 45. I'm gonna go. 28-21.
28, 21 is your... Okay, that's 49.
49.
So you're actually...
I'm going to go 50. And you're at what, 40? Where were you at?
I'm at 45.
And I'll go 50.
Okay, you'll go 50. All right,
Yeah.
so we did it. I have this written down. It's public record now. Or this is going in the file.
Man, should I just take the Chiefs and make this easier?
No, I don't think. I don't. As you said,
It'd be
you don't
so much
want to
easier,
go
you
against
know?
what you think is going to happen. So let's not do that, and let's settle for that. Anything we didn't talk about, you might want to talk about.
No.
Okay, in that case, I think we did it. For Chris Morgani, I'm Steve Rees.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. There is something.
There
is something. We do the movie of the week, and I don't know what we're going to do next week. We haven't figured that out yet. But there was a movie, I fell asleep watching Yesterday's Child, as I often do.
You're kidding.
Yeah. And when I woke up, there was another movie on. And normally I would just turn the TV off and whatever. But I was seeing it, and I'm like, man, this looks really good. And I watched like maybe 20 to 30 minutes of it as I woke up, and I'm like, this is a really, really good movie. So I went back the next night and watched it, and I sent it to you, and I told you this movie it won 7 Oscars in 1946. It's called
The Best Years of Our Lives.
The Best Years of Our Lives, yes. And I want to talk about it on the show because it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, and how often do you see a movie that you would put in that category, right?
Right.
I think it's been 10 years since I've seen one that I would put in that category.
Do you remember the last one?
Boyhood, the Richard Linklater movie, which is, if anyone has, we could talk about that too, but it's that good. And I feel like, much like we talked about the Beatles documentary, as something that we really appreciate and love rather than something we're looking at critically.
Yeah, providing an alternative to just being snarky, as the kids say.
Yeah.
About things that weren't really made for us. They were made for a different era.
Yeah. So when you get a chance to watch that, and we'll talk about that. So.
Okay, in that case, I think we did it. Have we done it?
I think so.
Let's call it. I'm Steve Rees.
Askiwawa.
Holy Magadao.
Eagles.
Tigers eat.
Eagles.
Eat 'em raw. We did it. Fast Cast is next.